Hello, everyone. You're very welcome to the Winning Formula YouTube channel. And thank you very much for joining us today. So, one of the key debates we've been hearing since the Monaco Grand Prix, which took place just about 2 weeks ago at this stage, of course, the 2021 Monaco Grand Prix that was won by Max Verstappen. It was it was a procession. There weren't any yellow flags. Uh, should we keep the Monaco Grand Prix? And that's the big question moving forward. Should we keep the Monaco Grand Prix or should we bin it? Well, it's a very tough choice actually. But there are a lot of pros and cons, and I would like to run through some of my pros and cons as to why we should or shouldn't keep the Monaco Grand Prix. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments as well. So do let us know. And yeah, let's do this. All right, so firstly, let's have a look at the starting grid from the most recent Monaco Grand Prix. As I mentioned, this was the Monaco Grand Prix 2021. So Charles Leclerc qualified in first place, Verstappen second, Bottas third, Sainz fourth, Norris fifth, Gasly sixth. Now, what I want to point out about this starting grid is that Leclerc didn't start the race due to technical issues with his car. So, of course, that promoted everybody forward one place. Bottas actually took what was probably the longest pit stop in the world, 43 hours, I think, when they couldn't get the nut off his wheel for the tire change. So he was also out of the race. And so by default, when you take Leclerc and Bottas out of this, then you're left with Verstappen, Sainz, and Norris, 1, 2, 3. So tell me, what was the final placement of these drivers in the race? Ah, there you have it. 1, 2, 3. So Verstappen first, Sainz second, Norris third. Not much of a shake-up in the final order there, unfortunately. And yeah, that's the way things are sometimes. So you definitely can make the argument for a procession at the very latest Monaco Grand Prix. But, you know, as I said, you need to look at the pros and the cons of everything for the Monaco Grand Prix. So, bearing that in mind, I have put together my own list of pros and cons. So let's start with the cons, or the negatives, as you can see them here on the screen. The first of these being that the circuit is not wide enough. Okay, that's a very fair comment. The Formula One cars have been themselves becoming wider and bigger over the years. Even if you compare, let's say, a 2010 Formula One car to the latest 2020-2021 Formula One car, there's a huge size difference, and that definitely doesn't help with overtaking. So why don't we just make the circuit a little bit wider? Well, it's not even as logical as that, because of course Monaco is a street circuit, and you can already see with how close the barriers are to the road, there just isn't additional space to make the circuit wider. So that for me probably is a negative. Well, no, that for me certainly is a negative. Let's look at the next point. So no overtaking, and of course that's linked to the previous point that the circuit isn't wide enough. In saying that, there are reasons for no overtaking in Formula One, and this isn't just confined to the Monaco Grand Prix either. So, if we look at the Monaco Grand Prix specifically, the first thing I will say is that the straight just isn't long enough. Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. There is DRS activation on the straight, but it's just not sufficient for a car to get past. You just don't have that really long straight like you would have in Barcelona or other circuits like that. Even Portugal, we saw some very good DRS overtakes on the start-finish straight. But if you want to get my opinion, that was kind of boring to see a slam dunk overtake every time somebody has DRS. So there's definitely a skill factor to be taken into that. So the straight isn't long enough for DRS to be effective. Then the other aspect, of course, is the inability of Formula One cars to run in close proximity to each other. And this is due to the dirty air that's kicked up behind the Formula One car. And so if you're following a car in front of you, once you start to get close, your aero gets broken, the dirty air starts to impact your handling, your downforce, And as a result, you kind of find that you fall away. And we also see a lot of degradation of the cars as well. So that dirty hot air doesn't help engine cooling, and it also doesn't help the tires. So that's another factor. Negatives, pointless celebs. This has to go onto the list. In particular, on the back of the most recent Monaco Grand Prix, where we saw, of course, Max Verstappen win, his post-race interview was hijacked by Serena Williams. To be honest, it wasn't Serena Williams' fault. It was the interviewer. I think it was David Coulthard, and it probably wasn't even his fault. He was probably told to do this. So the post-race interview was handed over mid-questioning of Max Verstappen to Serena Williams, who clearly did not know a lot about Formula One, and it was cringeworthy. It was cringeworthy. If Serena Williams wins at Wimbledon or the US Open or something like that, are they going to hand over the microphone to Max Verstappen mid-speech so that he can give his 2 cents on the US Open? Yeah, I don't think so. So that was cringeworthy. So that's why I have to bring up pointless celebs. I also remember the big man love between Justin Bieber and Lewis Hamilton a couple of years ago when Lewis Hamilton won. Nothing, of course, against man love, but it was more the concept of, once again, another celebrity being brought onto our screens and rubbed in our faces. And we as racing fans, we're not here for that. So it's cool sometimes to see them on the grid and to get the interview with Martin Brundle or whoever it is, but don't make it a part of the post-race ritual where the drivers are being interviewed or getting their trophies, all the rest. That's my personal opinion on this. And let's go to the next negative. Thursday practice. I really like my weekend of motorsport. I like that practice is on Friday, then followed by another practice session on Saturday with qualifying, and then the race on Sunday. And so when you have practice on Thursday, firstly, if I even remember that it's on, I may tune in or of course catch the highlights after work. The other part of this is Friday feels so empty. It feels so empty without having the practice session on a Friday. So you're waiting from Thursday until Saturday for your next slice of Formula One. And you've already had a taste of that nice Formula One weekend vibe, and you really don't want to take a day off from it. So that's my personal opinion. Yeah, you can get through it by having Formula 2 and everything else as support races. It helps a little bit. Formula 2 is usually very, very interesting. But yeah, I don't love the Thursday practice, and I know it's there for a reason. But yeah, let's get on with it. So let's move over to the positives. The history, the legacy of the Monaco Grand Prix. The Monaco Grand Prix, in some form or another, has been around since, I think it's 1929. I think officially Formula One will say 1950, but the concept of the Formula One or the Monaco Grand Prix has been around since 1929. So actually, it will have its 100-year anniversary very, very soon. The Motorsport Triple Crown. So you think of the Indy 500, Le Mans 24 Hours, and the Monaco Grand Prix. That is the Motorsport Triple Crown. And there are very few drivers out there who can say that they have achieved the Triple Crown. Now, of course, there are ones that have tried. I guess the most relevant current driver you could mention would be Fernando Alonso. Of course, Fernando Alonso wasn't successful in his bid for the Indy 500. But yes, so that goes a little bit with the history, with the legacy, the pinnacle of motorsport. So that's very important, and especially when you're a long-time motorsport fan as well, that is a really, really big thing. The next thing I have to mention, of course, is the iconic races that have taken place in the Monaco Grand Prix in the past. And we have seen many iconic races. So for every, let's say, 5 or 6 really boring processions that we get, you do get the odd dramatic race. And I think back to the battles between the likes of Prost and Senna. But even if you come more recently in 2019, we had the battle between Verstappen and Hamilton, where Verstappen went for it on the last lap. He didn't make it. He didn't get through. He still finished in second place. But it was dramatic. And for me, it feels a little bit more like real racing. It feels like, when we didn't have DRS and when we didn't have KERS and we didn't have all of these um, devices that help with the overtaking, and overtaking was done on the track between the two drivers, kind of like I guess 90s Formula One. And sure, some other races were boring, but you were more invested in the battle that was taking place, the strategic side of that, where the driver would line up the next driver and see if they could get past, see if they had enough skill. Uh, Speaking of iconic races, who can forget 1996? I was a big Michael Schumacher fan, so I was devastated when Schumacher went out on the formation lap. Luckily, I didn't turn off the TV. And what a race that was! 3 drivers finished with Olivier Panis winning. So the surprise package, Olivier Panis winning that. And of course, mentioning being a Schumacher fan, how could we forget 2012? So Schumacher did struggle with the Mercedes on his return to Formula One, and that definitely wasn't prime or optimal Mercedes at that point in time, just pre the hybrid era. But Schumacher showed his skill by getting pole position that day. It was, of course, bittersweet because I believe it was a gearbox penalty he had to take and was demoted 5 places. And actually, he didn't finish the race either because of technical issues. But the magic was there. It was such an awesome lap that he pulled out to get that pole position. Positives: pointless celebs. Negatives and positives for pointless celebs. As I mentioned earlier, yeah, it's definitely really cool to have Martin Brundle or whoever it is doing the pit walk and to run into these celebs who have no idea about Formula One in the first place, and ask them questions, find out how they're here, which team they're with. They even struggle to remember the name of the team sometimes. Fantastic stuff, and keep it to pre-race, keep it to the grid, and I'm more than happy with that. But once you start bringing them into the post-race interviews and all the post-race celebrations, then for me, yeah, it just gets a little bit cringy, as I've said. So I'm repeating myself. I'm repeating myself here. So next up, we have, of course, the beauty of Monaco. There is no circuit like it in the world. It's just so fantastic. Look, you can see the sea in the background, the yachts, the mountains, the greenery, the hairpin corner that we can see on the screen at the moment behind the slide. Yeah, you just can't beat it. What an iconic location that is. And to see Monaco on a sunny day looks fantastic. To see it on a wet day, it doesn't look as fantastic, but it is also dramatic because you have all that background there as well. And just as I said, there's no other circuit out there that's like it. And so we have reached conclusion time. Now, before I get to the conclusions, I must mention I actually asked my wife of her opinion, the pros and the cons of the Monaco Grand Prix. I didn't hold out for very much response here because my wife isn't the biggest Formula One fan in the world. I could probably count on one hand the amount of races she's actually sat down and watched. I don't even think I need too many fingers for that one. The cons from her side were no overtaking. Surprise, surprise, she said no overtaking. So she was wise enough to know that. I guess everybody knows that overtaking is a challenge. And she said that whoever qualifies in first wins the race. You can ask Charles Leclerc and Michael Schumacher about that one. But yeah, in general, I guess, as long as you don't have technical issues or penalties and you finish in your starting position, as long as you don't have one of those iconic races that I mentioned. She said a con as well was a lot of crashes. Okay, a lot of crashes, definitely. You don't ever want to see anybody get injured or get hurt. But crashes can be quite dramatic, and especially in Monaco, we've seen some dramatic crashes in the past as well. So yeah, I'm not listening to that as a con. It's a pro and a con, a bit like those celebrities. Con she raised as well was the Royals. Of course, who could forget that there is the presentation by the Royals on the podium after the race, and not sure why she has an issue with that, to be perfectly honest with you. She really enjoyed The Crown on Netflix, one of her favorite shows, and so that's where we are. So on any given day, I would be pretty sure that the royals being present would be one of her pros, but maybe it was just a bad day. And then when I look down at my list, what I've written down here, pro that she has raised is because of the royals. Surprise, surprise. Okay, so should have read down a little bit further and seen that one coming. But it was about 2 weeks since we had this conversation. So she does like the royals as well. So she likes them and she hates them all at the same time. A little bit like our relationship as well. So there you go. You win some, you lose some. She says it's exciting because of the close racing to the barriers. Completely agree. Yeah, you don't get it in too many circuits. You have it in Azerbaijan to an extent, and Singapore, the other street circuits. But previously, those street circuits didn't exist before Monaco, and you drive very, very close to the barriers, and sometimes it goes horribly, horribly wrong for people, and we've seen it many, many times. She says it's beautiful. Completely agree. And that it's a big achievement. And of course, yes, that would come back to it being at the pinnacle of motorsport, the triple crown of motorsport. So that's where we're at. All right, so we've reached conclusion time, and I don't want to keep you in anticipation any longer. What's my personal conclusion? I want to hear your conclusions as well. Let us know. Leave them in the comments. Oh, whilst you're leaving a comment, don't forget to like the video and of course to subscribe to the channel. But all right, let's go with this. Technical issues kicking in right now, as is typical. Okay, the opinion. Are you crazy? Seriously, we are Formula One fans. We are racing fans. Monaco has been at the heart of Formula One for a very, very long time, as I've already elucidated and touched on earlier. No way. Are you crazy? You can't get rid of Monaco. I don't care if it's a procession every 5 out of 6 years. I still look forward to it. And we absolutely have to keep it. You have to keep Monaco. Are you insane? Are you? Are you insane? We have to keep Monaco. So, look, that's my opinion. Don't take it too seriously. As I said, let's hear your opinion. Has Monaco had its day? Is it compatible with the current width and length of the cars that we have, the speeds of the cars? It is the great equalizer in some ways because the out and out fastest cars just can't go that fast in Monaco. As I said, let us know your thoughts. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again really, really soon on the winning formula.